I found a system that works for me and that has saved me a bunch of time.
Now this does irritate me.
Hey teammates, welcome back to Teaching with Tania. In this video, I'm talking all about classroom organization. If you're a first year teacher, second year teacher, a teacher in general, just wanting to know how I organize my classroom, then stay tuned for this video. I just want to preface this video by saying, if you're a first year teacher, it took me like, halfway through quarter 3 to find out how I like to organize things and where I want my students to get things, where I get things like teacher material, my material. It was just a lot to organize, especially because I had a lot of donations come in. I had to figure out what system best fit my students and my needs so that I could stay organized, but also they know how to stay organized just throughout the structure of the day. And it's easily accessible to get what they need when they need it, and so on and so forth. To start off with teacher organization, this is how I stay organized as a teacher. First off, this cart, I didn't think I needed it at first. I'm like, I'll just put the copies on my desk. And wrong answer. So the first thing I do is teacher organization. Let me show you that. So this is how I stay 1 week ahead. I have my Monday copies in here, Tuesday, today is Tuesday, of course. And then I take everything out of here. And this is what we're doing for foundations practice on Wednesday, Thursday, and then MCAT practice on Friday. So basically I put all my copies in here so that when it is that day, I'm not running to the copy machine, getting things that should have already been copied. So this is how I stay organized. And then on that day, so I take the papers out of here. Then once I have my copies here, I put everything in block 1, and then the extras, of course, I make a little bit of extras. I put in here, and this is where I can go ahead and pass things out as I get to that part of my lesson. And I do the first thing I need on top, and then the things that I really don't need to like the end of the day for that block at the bottom, so that it's easily accessible. This is so easy because you just put it in like this. Then before I leave for the day, I go ahead and put Wednesdays in there as well. Then here I put teacher materials in, so like students may need a clipboard or the book that we're reading. I always keep my extra copy in here, and also my teacher manuals I keep on this desk so that if I'm teaching, like everything is basically right here where I need it. Like it's just 360. If students need to come up to me and get an extra copy or for me to check their work, I can do it right here. That system has helped me tremendously so that I'm not doing things the day of instead of a week in advance or even 2 weeks in advance. If I am feeling extra organized, then I go ahead and put the Monday for week 1, the Monday for week 2, and their copies in that bin, and the day of, boom, transfer it to my blue and green trays, and that has saved me a bunch of time. That is how I organize my whole group lessons. And then for my small group lessons, I have them color coded so that students don't know what level they're on, but also know like what their goal is. My students are now learning how to read, so now we're transitioning to books and working on their fluency and comprehension. So depending on what level they are determines what books they've read. And I was being so unorganized with the books, but I found a system that works for me, and they are excited about the books they are reading. And I try to make it fun for them. Like no matter what level you're on, reading should be fun. And we've been reading a bunch of cool books, so come on and check it out. My green group students are reading those. I love the Geronimo Stilton series. My blue group is reading this, and my red group is reading this. So that's how I keep my books organized. And then shout out to my lead for showing me this. I have a small group binder. And for my first block, of course, I have their own binder of what group they're in. I have their goal written down here, and then what we do for the small group activity for that day, just to make sure I'm documenting everything depending on what group they're in, and then what book we read and what we actually practice that day. So this is my block 1 small group binder. I have another one for my block 2 binder. And then depending on what skill we're working on and what intervention groups, I have them lined up here for me so I could just easily grab them as I do small group and words that we need to be practicing. It doesn't look organized. Actually, back here is probably organized chaos, but it works for me in my brain. And then if I need worksheets for small group, if we're working on a specific skill, then I have those right here for block 1 and then right here for block 2. Now we're gonna get into student organization. Student organization is something I've also had a hard time with because I know where I want my students to get their materials, but it has to be at an eye level for them, first of all, and then also easy for them to access so that everybody knows what they're doing. And when I call your group to go get your materials or whatever you need for class, it's easy and accessible. For example, we're gonna start off with classroom mailboxes. Highly recommend, because my students don't bring in their book bags to class, but they do bring like a pencil or whatever. And so I like to keep their materials, so everything they may need in here, like workbooks, journals, vocab journals, writing journals, everything they need. I try to keep it in here as much as possible. So they do have their own student mailboxes, and everybody has a number, which is assigned to their name tag, their chips. I have tried my best to keep everything as organized as possible so that when it's time to go find something, everybody knows where it's at. It's like no question, especially if a student comes in late. I'm not telling you, hey, get this, get this, get this, because boom, you already know the routine. Get your pencil, your binder, and have a seat at your desk. Every class, we started off that way. Alrighty, so like I mentioned before, these are my second blocks. Originally, rookie mistake, I put their numbers up here, and it's like they're not even that tall, so how can they even reach that? Here they have their workbooks and journals, everything in there. I don't want to get too close so you don't see student names, but basically this is block 1s. I'll show you block 2s later on. This is where I keep students' binders. Let me tell you, this used to irritate me. If a binder is not the correct way, it would drive me nuts, but thank God it's okay now, right? I'm growing as a teacher. But these are all their binders. Hopefully it doesn't make you dizzy. And then they all have their names on them so that they know it's easy and accessible to get, all right here. And then if they need any crayons, markers, that's accessible right here as well. And I have one on each side of the room. If you saw me put these together at the beginning of the year, I did it in my classroom setup video. And of course they use them, and that's what materials are for. Another thing I like to do is have turn-in trays so that students know where their work should go in and where it needs to go depending on if it's block 1 or block 2. And these have helped me tremendously so that when I'm grading, you're able to see where things should go. Like I tell my students, if it's not in here, I can't grade it. And then here, listen, now this does irritate me. Why can't we put the markers on correctly, you know? So when you first walk into my room, depending on what we need for that day, these are all materials that they may use, so like dry erase markers and then their boards. Usually we do it for like dictations and foundation practice. And then here, like I said, this used to irritate me, but hey, this is teaching and this is real life. Here you go. These are their headphones that they get, and then I put their computers in here when they need to get on the online platforms. I feel like this has been a game changer for me because it's, first off, easy and accessible is the name of the game here, so this has helped me out a lot. Students have their own numbers that's assigned to their chip numbers, and I'll show you guys my chips if you haven't watched my classroom management video. But basically everybody has the same number and it correlates for everything in my classroom, so everybody knows what they're doing and where their belongings are. And then like I mentioned before, this is the same thing but on the other side. As you can see, it needs to be refilled. Then we also have the homework turn-in tray. This is, again, as soon as you walk through the door, you can go ahead and turn in your homework that was supposed to be done the night before. And then I also have like the books that we're working on for the day or for the module. Kind of work on a few books every day. So I put the new book right in here, and it's usually nice and organized. And actually I have one student that likes to organize my books for me. It just calms her down, relieves her stress. So usually she does that and organize the headphones. She's not here today, so I'm gonna leave it alone. And then any papers that I need to pass out, I usually leave it right here by the door because this is the easy walkway as they line up on a dot. This check-in sheet is something that I created so that students, I know who's here, who's not here, who's absent, who's tardy, things like that. And they can do it and hold themselves accountable to making sure they come to school. And then also I could check it as well. This has been, I feel like, the bane of my existence. Sharp and non-sharp. I feel like every day students come to me, Miss Brown, I need an eraser. Miss Brown, I need a marker. Well, I'm out of erasers now, but I tell them if it's not in here, I cannot sharpen it. So if you don't want students coming up to you asking to sharpen a pencil, just go ahead and make sure that's done. And then I have my chips. This isn't really organization, this is like management. But last but not least, I wanted to show you just the way I keep track of everything are these passes. I got these passes off of Amazon, and it helps me keep track of where students are at all times. That's basically how I keep myself as a teacher organized, and then my students organized as well, because I realized that if you're not organized, let me tell you, your students won't be either. And I feel like it's important for me to not only model, but also teach them how to be organized, how to keep a binder, how to take notes, how to problem solve. Like if your pencil's not sharp, what should you do? Oh, if you're done with this assignment, where should it go if I need to grade it? You know, have them think for themselves and also give them that autonomy to do what they need to, even though it's not neat. For example, they can go get their headphones and computer when they need them, and I trust you to do that. I give them the trust until they break it, basically, and they know that, and that has helped my student-teacher relationship with a lot of my students go above and beyond, because they now know the rules. And once you know the rules, I feel like you can break them, you know? Like if you go to the carpet with your computer or to do your work, you're talking, so obviously you're not getting your best work done there, so now you have to go back to your desk. So I'm gonna give and take a little bit, but I need you to like get your work done in work with me, you know? That was a long spiel, but anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Go ahead and comment down below what are some other ways you like to organize your classroom and how you keep yourself sane and your students organized. I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.